the soul of the Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh. Health City, now open at Camana Bay 7 days a week.
The Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure, and by West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the Record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Ort Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees so fair. Today is the second day of July 2021. I hope and I trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, again, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or operating any type of motorized vehicle, please ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember, the life you save may be your own. If you're celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday. Or if you celebrated one over the past few days, a belated happy birthday to you as well. For those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these very challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing as well. For those who are infirmed, whether you're at home or at a medical facility, we want to wish you a speedy recovery as well. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Ort Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. Beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson in the control room waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us, 925-3261. Follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream as well. I have my usual guest in the studio with me this morning, Dr. Steve Macfield, but also I have a very special guest, no stranger to For the Record, but comes in on special occasions, and we have a very, very special occasion coming up soon on Monday, the 5th of July, and that is what we will be talking about this morning, about why we celebrate Monday the 5th of July. We'll be talking about that. So I want to just set some ground rules for our listeners to let them know that we will open the phone lines because this is a very important subject to you. We will be opening the phone lines later on during the show. But there is so much information that our guest wants to share with you that we want to lay that all out on the table first before we take your calls. But this is all of interest to you, and we know that you will be eager to participate in it as well. So, without any further ado, first of all, I'm going to say good morning to Dr. Steve McField, and thanks for being here with us, Doc. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Mr. For the Record, and good morning to all the people in the For the Record land and all the people in the Cayman diaspora and all the people listening. It's good to be back, and I'm glad that you asked me to come on this special day because I am in the company of Mr. Ron Carter.
Yes.
The chairman of the Constitutional Commission, and I couldn't think of any better person. In fact, before the show began, we started engaging already. A great gentleman, a person who likes and understands the Constitution, and as interested as I am about it, and I really, it's a great honor to be in his presence this morning.
It certainly is, and Mr. Carter, it is great to have you back again. We get so many positive feedbacks when you're on the show because you have such a clear understanding of our Constitution as well as our constitutional history, and your ability to put it in plain and simple language for our listeners as well is much appreciated. So, good morning, sir. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning, OC. Good morning, Mr. Senior Counsel, and to all everybody listening and indeed watching this show. It is my absolute pleasure to be on the record once again, and to be in such esteemed company, and to have the opportunity on behalf of the Constitutional Commission and my joint members to talk about the Constitution on this particularly pertinent day, being Constitutional Day on Monday.
Okay. So we're going to start by you talking why it's so important to mark Constitution Day.
I was at work the other day, and somebody was talking to me about the long weekend, and they were saying, "Well, it's Independence Day in America, and that's why we've got this holiday." And I looked, and I thought, and I wondered, and it struck me that if people are saying things like that and they really don't understand, or people really don't appreciate or haven't engaged with the Constitution and why it's so important. The Cayman Islands obtained its first constitution in 1959, and there's a whole interesting history as to what the constitutional arrangements were before that. And there clearly were constitutional arrangements, but the first bespoke written constitution came in 1959, and we've talked previously about the whole West Indies Federation situation and the relationship with Jamaica and the decisions that the Cayman Islands took at that particular time. But that marked a significant change in direction for the Cayman Islands, and it marked the first constitution, and from then we've expanded and developed and amended that constitution. Significant dates being 1972 with a new constitution, and that hung around for a long time. It served us well, but there were deficits, and there were plasters put on some of those cracks for a while, and it wasn't until 2009 when we got a much more modernised constitution, and there was a 10-year process which everybody around this table I'm sure contributed in some way, that led to the 2009 constitution. And of course now we're over 10 years into that arrangement as well.
Yes.
So I mean, that's a very potted history of what's happened since 1959, but the celebratory day and the reason that we have the holiday on Monday marks that 1959 turning point. And Dr. Steve was saying one of the things that we were already engaging on before the show was how the previous justice and vestrymen, how they felt about the move to a new legislative assembly in which there were a much more limited number of members under the 1959 constitution. And he was telling me that he made notes about the speeches that people made or the things that people said at that time. And I mean, to my mind, that's a massively important part of our history that isn't accessible. And it goes to the point I made at the very start. If people were able to access that amazing history and those extremely important points and records, then they would engage, they would understand. So it's incumbent upon us to talk about it, to celebrate it, to understand it, to critique it, and also to try and develop the resources that are available. And that's something the Commission is massively committed to and hugely engaged with.
Well, tell us about that updating of your data and how you go about reporting to the people of the Cayman Islands in relation to our Constitution and either proposed changes, eminent changes, or changes that have been made.
Our primary bank of materials is contained on the Constitutional Commission's website, which very simply is www.constitutionalcommission, all one word, .ky. And there are a huge amount of resources on there. Every time we publish an explanatory note, or every time that we make a statement or a press release, we publish that. Indeed, every time we engage in correspondence, we also publish that correspondence, so people can access and see when we write to the governor or we write to the premier and the leader of the opposition, and we often write to those three collectively, and there's an interesting reason as to why we do that. Perhaps we can explore later in the context of changing the Constitution. But all of those records are there. What we find, however, is that we are generating those records. They're coming now. They're almost us producing those records. What we don't immediately always have access to is the historical records. And that's a challenge for Cayman generally, recording the history, the important events. And I listen to your show regularly, and I listen to Dr. Steve, and I remember the other day, not so long ago, that he was talking about the United Nations and his letter to the United Nations. Well, either that aspect of your show needs to be recorded and put on our website, or that those papers need to be available, but it needs somebody then to archive and organise those. And that's something that we're working on, and we can talk about a little bit more as we go along, I hope.
Sure, definitely. Okay, so we'll take our first commercial break. When we return, Mr. Vaughn Carter will have the mic because he's going to give us a lot of background information about the Constitutional Commission and what they're doing, and in celebration of Monday, the 5th of July, Constitution Day. So please stay tuned, folks. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Attention all tourism stipend recipients. Have you completed the mandatory stipend survey? This survey is required for all recipients and must be completed by this Friday, 2nd July 2021. Visit stipend.ourcayman.ky today to complete the short survey. Remember, it is mandatory, so visit stipend.ourcayman.ky today. Any questions? Email the tourism stipend team at stipend@caymanislands.ky.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
John Jackie Miller was a shipwright, pastor, carpenter, and farmer. He was one of the founders of the North Side District. He built the old courthouse, now the museum, old government house, which burnt down, and the old jail and police headquarters, and the North Side Presbyterian Church, and was a lay pastor in the Presbyterian Church. He and his wife, Lucy Jane Nee Whitaker, had 11 children.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Rotary Central and you, our valued community, have undertaken remarkable accomplishments since October 1986. Over 34 years of activity and projects, making lives better and moving our beloved Cayman forward. Rotary Central has yet again committed to the advancement of these islands, this time in the area of mental health. We are proud to announce our partnership with Loud Silent Voices and donation of $50,000 to provide a community home for those recovering from various mental illnesses. Rotary Central and Loud Silent Voices, a signature project, taking care of the vulnerable, helping families manage, more than a shoulder, more than a helping hand, literally calming the storm. Rotary Central, care in every effort, sweat in every project, every dollar planted back in the community with your help. Rotary opens opportunities.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Did you know that defective airbags can cause serious injury or even death if not repaired immediately? Right now, millions of vehicles around the world are under recall for faulty Takata airbags, and yours could be one of them. At Vamt Motors, our priority is to make sure the Toyota or Ford you drive is safe. So we are offering customers a free, fast, and easy airbag swap out if your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or earlier. Find out if you need to have new airbags installed by emailing your Ford or Toyota vehicle's VIN or vehicle identification number to service@vamtmotors.com or stop by Vamp's Service Center or call us at 949-2245. Don't risk it. Get the airbags in your Toyota or Ford checked for free at Vamp Motors on Walkers Road.
Health City is now open at Camana Bay, offering a wide range of specialties at our state-of-the-art Camana Bay Clinic. We are here to help you save time and feel better. We are open weekdays, weekends, and evenings for your convenience and are dedicated to reducing your wait time while improving your health. Friendly staff, expert care, lab services, and diagnostics in one convenient location from the hospital you know and trust. Health City at Camana Bay, within your reach.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Dr. Steve MacPhail and Mr. Vaughn Carter, who is the chairperson of the Constitutional Commission here in the Cayman Islands. We're talking about the work of the Constitution, the very important work of the Constitutional Commission, and we're talking also about a very important day in the history of the Cayman Islands, this coming Monday, the 5th of July, when we celebrate Constitution Day. Back over to you, Mr. Carter.
So, OC, one of the things that the Constitutional Commission has started doing, and this is the second year on Constitutional Day that we have done this, is to publish an update. The update is available on the Constitutional Commission's website, www.constitutionalcommission.ky. And the update, we think, is useful and significant because it's not a traditional annual report. We have found that various bodies publish annual reports, and that information is useful and important and is significant, but it's generally produced in a somewhat bland fashion. It's a traditional black and white sheet of paper, and some people who are detail orientated, they may take the time to read that, but many people don't, and an annual report sits on the shelf or sits on a file in the website, and there's not much traffic that's going to it and looking at it, so its utility is limited. We prefer the constitutional update in a more magazine type form, and we have published that last year in 2020, and we've published that again this year, 2021, and it's out today, and it's out in advance of Constitutional Day that we'll be celebrating on Monday. And we're therefore using Constitutional Day, this special day, for all the reasons that are obvious and that we've just discussed, as a basis for publishing the update. And the update then itself, we hope will drive traffic to the website and also highlight all of the other things that the Constitutional Commission has done in the course of the year. So last year we published an update in 2020, and we were looking at various things, including the amendments to the Constitution, which was obviously an important issue, and the process surrounding that, and the engagement of the Constitutional Commission in providing some proposals in that regard, but the constitutional talks then took place. The Constitutional Commission wasn't part of those talks, and we know that a draft order in council amending the Constitution came back, and we were very supportive of those provisions in the amendment. But there are still a number of questions that arise out of that process that we use this year's update to reflect upon that process and to try and highlight what those outstanding questions might be. Last year we also talked about the importance of legislation to supplement the Constitution. So whilst our attention was drawn to changing the document itself, we didn't want to lose sight of what the document had previously anticipated. And in a number of respects, it had anticipated subsequent legislation coming along that would support and inform that basic document. There are a number of areas where that is possible, but there are also a number of areas where that is required. And perhaps the most obvious deficit is the legislation required to provide for advisory district councils. And we know that there is legislation on the books, but the question is whether or not that is necessarily the direction that we want to go in. So last year we highlighted that issue, and this year we continue to work and will be continuing to work on reflecting upon what that legislation perhaps ought to look like, and maybe that's something we'll touch upon in more detail later. Last year we also talked about the records relating to the amendment of the Constitution. So I spoke just now about when the Constitution was amended in 2009. Those records, those constitutional talks, are now all available as a public record, and that's a hugely important public record. Yes. And I see it referred to in courts and in judgments now, and if that wasn't available, then obviously we wouldn't be able to reflect upon what those preparatory documents said, and how that informs what the intention of the Constitution was, and our understanding of it. But when the Constitution was recently amended, there would have been correspondence, and there were indeed meetings in London. And what the Constitutional Commission is interested to find out is what those discussions entailed.
Yes.
Because in the same way, that would also be an important public record as to how we understand these amendments moving forward.
Yeah, go ahead. We still have about 3 minutes before we go to our news.
And I think what's been very interesting as well is that we've had a number of very high-profile constitutional cases move their way through the courts. And whilst the Commission hasn't necessarily engaged with the particular issues, some of those involve fundamental rights, which would be the remit of the Human Rights Commission, of course. But what we are interested in is how this demonstrates the functioning of the Constitution, the hierarchy of our courts, the appellate courts, how that works. But what has also come through as well is that a number of these cases highlight the role between various different organs of government, the legislative branch of government and the judicial branch of government. And that in any democratic constitution is a tension, and quite how that line is drawn ultimately is a difficult line to draw, because on the one hand you've got democratic rights of the people through the legislature, but on the other hand you've got a judiciary that needs to protect rights of individuals and rights of minorities. It's not an easy question, and that's why we continue to monitor and publicise the decisions that come through, because that informs that relationship.
Okay. Still have a minute, so I'm going to bring you back to the constitutional talks or negotiations in 2009 and the importance of those records, because they are almost verbatim, other than instances when someone was talking without using a mic and we were unable to record that. But it is so important, because I have in the past gone back and looked at things like, for instance, the discussions on advisory district councils, like you mentioned earlier, and how that came about. We now talk about the fact that the reason that it hasn't been advanced as much is because during those negotiations, and if people have any doubts about it, they can actually go on there and see it, that at the end of the day, neither the government of the day or the opposition wanted an advisory district council, a system that effectively took some of the controls out of their hands, because they saw themselves as elected members of the Legislative Assembly. They didn't want elected councils. That was and that was expressed, and it is on record from both sides. They didn't want elected councils in that regard. So, you know, we can always go back and say, here is what this person said, here is what that person said, and that is so important. I'm not certain that there are many jurisdictions that have that those types of records.
Indeed, and I mean, it's a plus for the jurisdiction that we have those records and that we have made those records publicly available. And there were 3 sessions of those talks that were held. Some were held in the UK and some were held here in the Cayman Islands, and the records cover each of those 3 sessions, and one can see how the thoughts and the reasoning and the compromises regarding the Constitution and the pluses and the minuses evolved over that period of time. So for a historian, that's an excellent record.
Okay. We've reached the top of the hour, folks. 8 o'clock news. When we return, the conversation with Dr. Steve McField and Mr. Von Carter will continue, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Conner. And studio time by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
So it's your turn to cook tonight. What are we having?
Well, we have chicken thighs, pork chops, sirloin steak, ground chicken, or beef stir fry.
Wow, so many options.
Yeah, I got them from the Foster's Pick 5 selection. You can choose any 5 specially marked packs for $19.99. The meat is always fresh and never previously frozen. It's the perfect way to stock up for the week.
So all of this only costs $19.99?
It sure did.
Pick 5 is available at all locations, and selection may vary between stores. Foster's, better value because we care.
The 8 a.m. news is proudly sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. For further information, please visit chamberpension.ky. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Are you aware of the performance of your pension plan? The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan provides quarterly fund fact sheets for our members to stay informed with the plan's performance. For the year ended 30th of April, 2021, the various life cycle funds have provided returns between 10.5% and 43.2%. And our all-in expense ratio for year ended 30th of June 2020 is currently the lowest it's ever been, 0.72%. Visit chamberpension.ky to review our fund fact sheets. You can see the performance as far back as 10 years. Remember that pensions are a longer-term investment strategy. Focus on the long term rather than the short-term returns. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan continues to perform for you.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Karsley Fuller. Police are investigating a late-night shooting with multiple victims. Details from Radio Cayman's Christy Wells.
911 Communications tells Radio Cayman the call came in shortly after 11 p.m. Thursday night. Officers with the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service and emergency medical crews were immediately sent to the location on Martin Drive off Shedden Road in central Georgetown. Once there, they investigated the report of a shooting that left 3 people injured. Radio Cayman is awaiting further details from the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, so make sure to keep it locked as we follow this developing story. For Radio Cayman News, I'm Christy Wells.
In other news, Tropical Storm Elsa's path is tracking more north this morning. National Weather Service's Avalon Porter tells Radio Cayman if Elsa stays on its path, tropical storm force winds are not likely to affect the sister islands. However, fresh to strong winds are still likely with slightly lower wind speeds over Grand Cayman.
Heavy showers leading to flooding across the islands are expected, with a higher concentration over the sister islands, where rough seas will warrant the issuing of a marine warning from Sunday afternoon. Residents are urged to monitor the progress of this storm and continue to make preparations.
At the latest check, Elsa was located at 12.7 degrees north, 58.6 degrees west. That's about 700 miles east-southeast of Barbados. If the current projections hold, Elsa will be within Cayman's area in the next 60 hours. And with severe weather systems forecast to potentially impact Cayman this weekend and early next week, the Port Authority is asking importers with cargo already here or with cargo on the way to clear it with customs as soon as possible. Those customers who've received an online ID from PASI can see where their cargo is available. The Port Authority is also urging residents with vessels moored in Georgetown Harbor or along 7 Mile Beach to keep an eye on the severe weather systems, which may potentially impact the islands this weekend. Boat owners should secure their vessels and head towards appropriate safe harbor or shelter by this weekend. In regional news, in Jamaica, the Holness administration appeared to have bought time after a day-long sick-out and grueling late-night talks over a contracts dispute that threatened to make more than 140 junior doctors jobless. The healthcare system ground to a halt Thursday as a sick-out by 548 junior doctors set off alarm bells at hospitals, with only emergency cases being seen. They got 1/5 of their demands, according to the Jamaica Gleaner. In a press statement, the Ministry of Health said normal operations would resume at healthcare facilities island-wide today. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Debbie Russ. US troops have pulled out of their main military base in Afghanistan. Bagram was the hub of US-led operations against the Taliban, Al-Qaeda and other anti-government forces throughout a campaign that lasted almost 2 decades. The UN's World Food Programme says it has resumed operations in the Tigray region in Ethiopia. An 8-month conflict there has led to a dire humanitarian situation. The Iraqi Prime Minister has announced urgent measures to tackle a very widespread power outage. Mustafa al-Kadhimi said he would head a committee that would aim to secure support for the electricity ministry. A court in the Netherlands has approved the extradition to Australia of a man suspected of leading one of Asia's biggest drug syndicates. Australian police says J. Cherlop's organisation is responsible for 70% of the drugs entering the country. The Supreme Court of Malaysia has upheld a defamation verdict against one of the country's leading independent news sites. The case goes back to 2012 when the Malaysia Kini site reported about pollution allegedly linked to a now defunct Australian mining company. 2 former British soldiers accused of murders during military operations in Northern Ireland in 1972 have been told they will no longer face trial. One of them was on duty on Bloody Sunday when British troops shot dead 13 civil rights demonstrators. Nigerian security forces have raided the home of a separatist leader in the southwest of the country. The security agency said Sunday Igboho's home in the city of Ibadan was searched on suspicion that he had stockpiled arms. And the first two quarter-finals of the Euro 2020 football tournament kick off today with one of the venues beset by coronavirus. St. Petersburg and Russia as a whole have been registering record death rates, but the Russian government said no lockdowns were being discussed. That's the latest. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is proudly sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. For further information, please visit chamberpension.ky.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Cybercrime happens online or through the technology we use every day. Anyone can be a victim of cybercrime, whether you are a young person being bullied or harassed online, or an older person or business who's been scammed out of money or personal data. Cybercrime is an issue that touches all of us. The Cayman Islands government has therefore created an online resource to help keep you cyber safe in an ever-changing world.
In online situations, it is better to be cyber safe than sorry. Learn now to protect yourself against cybercrime. Visit gov.ky/cybersafe.
Rotary Central and you, our valued community, have undertaken remarkable accomplishments since October 1986. Over 34 years of activity and projects, making lives better and moving our beloved Cayman forward. Rotary Central has yet again committed to the advancement of these islands, this time in the area of mental health. We are proud to announce our partnership with Loud Silent Voices and donation of $50,000 to provide a community home for those recovering from various mental illnesses. Rotary Central and Loud Silent Voices, a signature project, taking care of the vulnerable, helping families manage, more than a shoulder, more than a helping hand, literally calming the storm. Rotary Central, care in every effort, sweat in every project. Every dollar planted back in the community with your help. Rotary opens opportunities.
The 8:10 a.m. Weather Report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
For over 100 years, more than 5.8 million people across the Americas and the Caribbean have placed their trust in Pan American Life Insurance Group. We have delivered on our promise and have proven that we are more than an insurance company. We are family. To learn more about our first-in-class individual and group life, disability and accident solutions, please visit Pan American International Insurance Corporation at Unit 221, Cannon Place East, North Song Road, Grand Cayman, or contact us at 949-8304 and visit us online at www.palig.com. Pan American Life, people you can trust for life.
A pleasant good morning. Let's take a look at the very latest weather report. Current temperature is 84 degrees. Relative humidity is 83%. The barometric pressure is 29.98 inches and rising. The wind is out of the east at 7 knots. Overnight low temperature was 79 degrees. Synopsis indicate a weak pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean will support light southeasterly winds and seas over the Cayman area for the next 24 hours. An increase in cloudiness and showers is expected from this evening as a tropical wave moves over the Cayman area from this evening through Saturday. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area moving northwest. Tropical storm Elsa has strengthened into Hurricane Elsa and at last check was located at 13.1 north, longitude 60.1 west, 40 miles west of Barbados, moving west-northwest at 28 miles per hour, and the maximum sustained winds of Hurricane Elsa is 75 miles per hour. The sister islands of Cayman Brac and Little Cayman are under a tropical storm alert as a precaution. If current projections hold, Hurricane Elsa is expected to be within our area in the next 60 hours. On this path, tropical storm force winds are not likely to affect the sister islands. However, fresh to strong winds are still likely with slightly lower wind speed over Grand Cayman. Heavy showers leading to flooding across the islands are expected with a higher concentration over Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Very rough seas will warrant the issuing of a marine warning from Sunday afternoon. Residents are urged to monitor the progress of the storm and to continue to make preparations. The Cayman Islands National Weather Service will continue to monitor the system. Now the forecast for today and tonight, calling for partly cloudy skies with cloudy spells and a 40% chance of showers. Temperatures will be in the upper 80s today and will fall to the upper 70s tonight. Winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Low tide will be this morning at 7 minutes past 11. High tide this evening at 9 minutes past 6. The sun will set this evening at 6 minutes past 7 and will rise tomorrow morning at 5:52. And the outlook is calling for an increase in wind, shower activity, and rough seas from Sunday as now Hurricane Elsa is moving near eastern Cuba. That's the very latest on your weather report.
10 a.m. Weather Report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
For over 100 years, more than 5.8 million people across the Americas and the Caribbean have placed their trust in Pan American Life Insurance Group. We have delivered on our promise and have proven that we are more than an insurance company. We are family. To learn more about our first-in-class individual and group life, disability and accident solutions, please visit Pan American International Insurance Corporation at Unit 221, Cannon Place East, North Song Road, Grand Cayman, or contact us at 949-8304 and visit us online at www.palig.com. Pan American Life, people you can trust for life.
Do you have a customer shutoff valve installed? The customer shutoff valve enables you to turn off the water between the meter and your property. If you plan to shelter away from your home or are preparing your business for a storm, turning off the customer shutoff valve can prevent unexpected high water bills and property damage should a leak occur in your plumbing. For more useful hurricane preparedness tips, visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky or follow us on social media.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Achieving your goals is a very rewarding feeling, but at times can feel very frustrating, especially if and when we miss our target. As you approach your goals in life, set yourself up for success.
When setting your goals, tell a friend. Having an accountability partner is often helpful in achieving your goals. Let your parents and partner know what you are planning or doing. Sharing with others also helps us to develop the ideas and our vision. Writing down your goals can help to solidify them for you and help you to stay accountable.
Change your thinking and change your life.
Radio Cayman's Cayman Strong series was brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman. Health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Top of the morning to you. Let's take a look at traffic. Busy traffic on the Lidford Prayerson Highway. Patience needed this morning as you're heading down to Georgetown. Busy traffic coming off of Agnes Way and steady traffic off of Bobby Thompson Way. Crew Road, some sections steady, other section moderate. So look to downtown Georgetown, not looking too bad. On Edward Street as traffic is light to moderate. And traffic flowing at a good pace on Shedden Road, on the West Bay Road, moderate flow of traffic, especially in front of the Ritz. Coming from the West Bay four-way stop, moderate flow of traffic, and traffic steady, but flowing on Huldah Avenue. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue, traffic is steady but flowing. That's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report. Have a good morning and drive safe, Cayman Islands.
When you're tight on time and budget, but big on flavor, Subway's Meal of the Day hits the spot. Enjoy daily meals on classic sandwiches like tuna, Black Forest ham, meatball marinara, and more. Starting at $6.25 for 6-inch meals and $8.75 for footlongs. You can get Subway's Meal of the Day. Enjoy a different sandwich on a different day for the same price. Mix it up with cookies or chips or waffle fries for the same price. Subway, eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
The HSA Specialist Clinic has relocated to a new, modern, state-of-the-art facility at Smith Road Center to offer you a better patient experience. Receive care from top specialists in chiropractic, complementary and alternative medicine, neurology, ENT, urology, pain management, and more. Our orthopedic and telemedicine clinics remain at the Cayman Islands Hospital campus. Please remember to bring your own face mask when visiting any HSA location. Visit our website, hsa.ky, to learn more. At the HSA, you matter to us.
With Logic, you get more things you do want, like faster fiber internet, more TV, entertainment, and better customer service. And you get less of the things you don't want, like waiting, boredom, and disappointment. More of the good, less of the bad. It just makes sense. Or should I say, it's logical. See what I did there? Call us or go to logic.ky to find out how you could be getting way more of what's good.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. For those of you who are out there listening and you may be eager to call in, we will soon be opening up the phone lines, but we still have so many other issues to discuss as well. I have in the studio with me this morning Dr. Steve McFeel and Mr. Vaughn Carter, who's the chairperson of the Constitutional Commission here in the Cayman Islands. And for those of you who may not be familiar with our Constitution, the Constitutional Commission falls under Part 8 of our Constitution. and it's under the heading Institutions Supporting Democracy. So the commission itself is a creature of statute, creature of our Constitution. In addition to the Constitutional Commission, we have the Human Rights Commission as well. Also, Commission for Standards in Public Life. Also, we have the Complaints Commissioner. But what's interesting that they have also placed Section 119, Advisory District Councils, as an institution supporting democracy. And yet, we have a law that basically is not functioning. We have no attempts to craft a law that, if the claim is that we now have 18 or 19 constituencies, single-member constituencies, and the Constitution speaks to electoral districts, because that has been the argument that has been used, that some changes need to be made. And Dr. McPhail, you have debunked that claim, and I'll get you to just speak to that before we go back over to Mr. Vaughn Carter. Also under institutions supporting democracy, the Register of Interests that is so important, as well as freedom of information legislation also. But over to the whole issue of whether or not, in the setting that we have now, the law that was crafted in relation to advisory district councils, what would be the required changes to that to make it compliant?
I think that is included in Section 4 or 5 of the law, which says that if and when there are single member constituencies, that the law would apply to them as it had it applied to the district the district committees, the districts. And so if the position is that causes an anomaly in the Constitution, that is not so, because we covered that. I think the position there's a position. At first, they said that one of the problems that they had was because the government had the right to appoint the council, that's what happened when the council is advisory. Remember, you just said that they didn't want it to be elective. So when you have an advisory council, it is an appointed council. And certainly, if you have a government, the government is going to want to have the majority of members on that council. So that is how it is. But the amendments, if there has to be an amendment to the law, it should only take a couple of days to amend it and to bring it back before cabinet to get the go ahead and bring it back before the LA for the amendments. I've seen laws that are more difficult got amended very quickly and was passed and was recasted and became law. And so there's no excuse. The excuse that, as far as I'm aware of, is that most of the people who are elected today do not want to be advised by their districts, by their constituents, and that's a problem when they say that they do not want to get to have any recommendations from the constituents in which that they actually represent. And that's the reason why the district council is also a statue of not a statue, but also a part of the democratic process, and which gives people the right to participate into their with their elected members of the parliament after they have been elected.
Okay. Back over to you, Mr. Carter. Giving you the mic.
Yes.
And from a constitutional perspective, the key point is that the Constitution provides that advisory district councils shall be created. Yeah. So that places the onus on the government of the day to introduce the legislation necessary to make that a fact and put those advisory district councils in place.
Mm-hmm. And so, if I may add just, and my apologies for interrupting you, but Ian Henry, in his arguments when this was being discussed, said to them he saw no need for it to be included in our Constitution, that you simply, if it's saying that a law should be made to create advisory district councils, there's no need to put it in the Constitution. They insisted, they wanted it in the Constitution, and they have it there, and now, they're basically refusing to honor the purpose and intent that are there. Yeah.
So that's the position. It should be there, and the Constitutional Commission has been clear on that. I'm now straying from the Constitutional Commission's stated views because we haven't developed any stated view on what it should look like. But what we are trying to do is to try and frame the questions around this particular matter so that we could encourage debate and discussion. And Dr. Steve has touched on some of the salient issues. Some of those issues relate to, do we want advisory district councils that are for every one of the single member constituencies, or and the current law that's on the books does provide for that, and Dr. Steve is correct that's logical and that could happen. Mm-hmm. Or when we first developed the notion of advisory district councils, we didn't have single member constituencies. We had our old districts and the multi-member constituencies. And as time has passed and we move to single member constituencies, we lose recognition and understanding of what the old districts meant. So, for example, I was listening to you when the new Parliament was sworn in, and you were talking about the order in which the members were taken. That comes from the old districts. Yes. And when I hear about the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association's recent publication looking at our recent election, and they talk about the numbers in the East End, North Side constituencies, of course, they are our old districts, and they are retained as single-member constituencies because they were the old districts. So the districts are important. And one of the questions in that sort of historical context around advisory district councils, therefore, is, do we want them as single-member constituency advisory district councils, so we have 19, or would we be better with organising them under the old districts so that they weren't necessarily accountable or under each or an individual member of Parliament? Right. Of course, that might be the case in East End and North Side, but it wouldn't be the case in Bodden Town, and it wouldn't be the case in Georgetown, and it wouldn't be the case in West Bay.
Or the Sister Islands.
Or indeed the Sister Islands. And in that way, if advisory, and we need to determine what's the objective of advisory district councils. Is it just to feed into an individual MP, or is it to represent district views of the community as a whole, so that those views have an airing? And let's say, for example, in my district of Bodden Town as a whole, then the advisory district council, if it was a district base, then the member for Newlands could take those issues forward, or the member for Savannah could take those issues forward.
That's right.
And it wouldn't necessarily matter whether they were government or opposition, or one particular party or another particular party, or indeed an independent. So that's a discussion, I think, for us to have. So Dr. Steve is quite right in what the law provides, but I'm saying maybe we take a step back and we look at what's desirable. And of course, the record of the constitutional talks is interesting and relevant and informative, but it's not definitive on what the Constitution provides, and we also have to look at what the strict text of the Constitution says, and interpret it and apply that and build from that. So if the strict text says that we doesn't preclude elections in the text, maybe we, as part of this exercise, we look at how it's composed, and how it's composed depends upon what function you want it to perform. And there are therefore a series of connected questions that I think we need to frame the questions and then engage and debate on.
Excellent. We're going to take a commercial break. When
excellent.
we return, we will re-engage in relation to the Constitutional Commission and its work, and Monday, the 5th of July, Constitution Day. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough, and sore throat to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
When I was growing up in Cayman, Sundays was always a big day for our family. Everyone would go to Granny's house for Sunday dinner after church. Even today, I can still smell the aroma of all the delicious food we used to eat, especially the hot, fresh baked bread smothered in butter, topped off with our favorite pan cheese. These days, I don't have enough time to cook and bake, but I do my best to carry on the Sunday tradition of family meals, and being able to get hot, fresh bread with no preservatives or additives from Caribbean Bakery is a big help for me. Shh, don't tell them, they still think I baked it. Caribbean Bakery, now delivering every Sunday to McGrath's grocery store in Eastern Avenue and Marina Drive. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Persons on the Sister Islands are reminded to disinfect your snorkel or dive gear with 1% bleach solution for at least 10 minutes to help combat the spread of stony coral tissue loss. If you need more information, you can visit doe.ky or call 926-0680.
Did you know that defective airbags can cause serious injury or even death if not repaired immediately? Right now, millions of vehicles around the world are under recall for faulty Takata airbags, and yours could be one of them. At Vamt Motors, our priority is to make sure the Toyota or Ford you drive is safe. So we are offering customers a free, fast, and easy airbag swap out if your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or earlier. Find out if you need to have new airbags installed by emailing your Ford or Toyota vehicle's VIN or vehicle identification number to service@vamtmotors.com or stop by Vamp's Service Center or call us at 949-2245. Don't risk it. Get the airbags in your Toyota or Ford checked for free at Vamp Motors on Walkers Road.
Healthcare Pharmacy, caring about your health for the past 25 years. Radio Cayman's premier health show.
Alzheimer's and dementia, are they the same disorder?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Is heard on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor, where they care about your health. Transfer and refill your prescription online. Visit healthcarepharmacy.com. KY or call 947-8900. Healthcare Pharmacy now with a new and second location in Governor's Square. The new Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor's Square is open Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health.
The Sister Islands of Cayman Bracket Little Cayman are under a tropical storm alert as a precautionary measure. The latest coordinates on Hurricane Elsa: latitude 13.1 north, longitude 60.1 west, is 40 miles west of Barbados, moving at west-northwest at 28 miles per hour. Maximum sustained winds are 75 miles per hour. The Cayman Islands National Weather Service will continue to monitor the system.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McPhail, and the chairman of the Constitutional Commission in the Cayman Islands, Mr. Vaughn Carter. We're talking about Constitution Day, Monday, the 5th of July. And we have much to celebrate, but we also have much to learn about our Constitution as well. Over to you, Mr. Carter.
Thank you again, OC. And we've been talking about the constitutional mandate for the Constitutional Commission and the fact that the Commission is contained in the Constitution. And in the past in Cayman, we've had a number of constitutional commissions. Historically, those commissions often came from the UK. Mm-hmm. But of course, more recently, in the course of the debate and discussions that led up to the 2009 Constitution, we had our own locally appointed constitutional commissioners for the first time. But all of those previous commissions were appointed for particular objectives or discussions. This is different. Under the 2009 Constitution, we're a standing commission, which means we're a permanent commission. So there was obviously that's there by design, and there was obviously an intention that there should be ongoing reference to the Constitution by way of our commission. And if you look at the Constitution, I think our role can be summed up in 3 words, and it's a mantra that we at the Commission have adopted.
Okay.
It's educate, inform, and advise. So I think our primary objective, if you look at the remit in the Constitution, is to educate. And that's why we've made a huge push with the development of materials, and that's why in this update for Constitutional Day 2021, we are announcing that we will be putting out a call for submissions to the public, to everybody. Do you have records that relate to our constitutional history? Do you have photographs? Do you have documents? Do you have any audio recordings? Because we want to gather those together in a central repository under the Constitutional Commission's website, and we want to archive and organise them and digitise them and make them then available for people to access. Mm-hmm. Make them available for the general public to access so that they can engage with the Constitution and understand it better, but also make them available for our educators to access. One of the things that the Commission has pushed, given its focus on education, is we want to ensure that there are courses in schools and in our colleges that talk about the Constitution and civics and our constitutional history and what our Constitution says and what it means in practice. And most people believe that that's an excellent idea, but their next response is, can you come and deliver that for us? And whilst we're very keen to be hands-on and to deliver, and I often return to the law school and deliver lectures on the Constitution and our constitutional history. Mm-hmm. It has to be sustainable. It can't be about the Commission members. It can't be about any one individual. And the response is, well, not all of our people in our schools are from Cayman, and they don't themselves understand it. Where can they go and get the materials with it so that they can actually make this focused on Cayman? And we can all talk generally about the organs of government and the legislature and the executive and the judiciary, but that can be very bland if it's just put like that. When we can relate it to us and our history, it comes to life. And this call for submissions is, there are people like yourself. There are people like Dr. Steve that have a mine of information and I know that they have documents, and if we don't want to take their documents, but if we could get a copy, and we could bring it in, and we could work with other people to organise it, it would be a fabulous resource. And then there's no excuses. The local resources, the local history, the local examples will be there, and we'll be able to demonstrate each and every aspect of our constitution by something that relates to us. So that's a massive thrust. It's announced on Constitutional Day in our update this year, but it's something we're going to push very much at the start of next year. And the reason for that is we're supported by the Commission Secretariat, and we have some fabulous people there that do some excellent work. But one lady who is working on this particular project, Shari Welcome, she's just gone on maternity leave and just had a baby. So we want to wish her and her family and the new baby whose name I believe is Zion, we want to wish them congratulations and all the very best. But it means that she's taking some time to spend with her family, but is very engaged with this project. So we're announcing it now. We're telling people there's going to be a call for submissions. The update tells you what we're looking for and why we're looking for it. You've got 4 or 5 months now to dig around, go up in your attic and look for it. And then in January, we're going to make a big push to see if we can actually engage with people and bring those resources together.
Doc, you're listening to that,
oh,
right?
Yes.
I'm sure that you know where almost all of your stuff is.
Oh, yes. I know. I have all of my stuff. I just do not know what binder I can go and put my hand on, but I have all of my stuff in binders now. I used to have them loosely, but I have them in the binders now, and I will definitely cooperate with Mr. Carter, Mr. Warren Carter, and give him copies of all the things that I have, because it's very significant that the Commission gets these documents and that they're able to disperse them and put them out to the public.
And that there are, I don't want to call people's name on here, but we have one of our favorite callers who has so much information and whose family, the Eden and the Hurlston family, was involved in it, and I'm sure that they must have historical documents as well. And I'm going to ask you again, Mr. Carter, to repeat the fact that you're not wanting to hold their documents. You don't want their original documents, and what it is that you would like to have from.
So the Commission's objective is to get copies of the materials, if they're physical records like documents or photographs, for example, and then to take a copy, digitize it, and put it in our archive, which will be available on our website. But what we will try to do is to put all those documents into some kind of order or structure them in a particular way. So, for example, if we're talking about the history of our Legislative Assembly, and it's now a Parliament, of course, but of course the old Justice and Vestrymen, then those documents could be organised or indexed in one way. So if you're a teacher or an educator and you're going to talk about democracy in the Cayman Islands, well, then you would know to click on those resources. A next potential step in the project might be then to organise some questions around those materials that could then be used for discussion, and click links to click. So if we're talking about the development of democracy, these are the resources, once we get them, that you would automatically be taken to. Almost like if you're studying law, when you've got a cases and materials book as well as your textbook. So if you view it like cases and materials to understand the text, that ultimately that's where we would like to get to.
Okay, and can you stress the importance of this? Because if we don't, and people hold on to things and say, well, I have this piece of information, but I'm going to keep it, then it creates that gap in our history to a certain extent, and you're depriving others of having that information. So the call would be for everyone to don't be selfish, be unselfish in terms of providing that information, because you're doing your part in terms of preserving the history of the Cayman Islands?
It's our history.
Yes.
And it's our history that we'll pass on to our next generation. And if they don't get the opportunity to see that, to learn from that, to be taught about it, then ultimately we lose our history.
Yep. Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. We do have one caller, so 2 callers. So what we'll do is we're going to take the commercial break, and we will take calls up until headline news at 9 o'clock, do some more talking, take some more calls later on, make sure that everyone is happy on not Constitution Day, but a few days before Constitution Day. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Health City is now open at Camana Bay, offering a wide range of specialties at our state-of-the-art Camana Bay Clinic. We are here to help you save time and feel better. We are open weekdays, weekends, and evenings for your convenience and are dedicated to reducing your wait time while improving your health. Friendly staff, expert care, lab services, and diagnostics in one convenient location from the hospital you know and trust. Health City at Camana Bay, within your reach.
Are you feeling sick, but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Radio Cayman News.
The Health Services Authority quarantined 8 staff members and their families after potential exposure.
It is our top priority to keep our patients and staff safe.
The mandatory quarantine has been reduced to 5 days for verifiably vaccinated incoming travelers.
Government is reopening the registration for the stipend program.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
For the record with Ort Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McPhail, and the chairman of the Cayman Islands Constitutional Commission, Mr. Vaughn Carter. Of course, we will be celebrating Constitution Day on Monday, the 5th of July. And please don't confuse it with the 4th of July, Independence Day in the United States. We have 2 callers. Let's grab those callers. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. O.C. Good morning to, I think it's Mr. Carter and to Dr. McPhail there. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good to hear your voice.
Thanks, sir. Always enjoy listening to you guys, especially on topics like this. Thank you very much, Mr. Carter, for coming on and trying to explain, process and this project in particular that you guys are doing. Just have one quick question for Mr. Carter. Who is on the Constitutional Commission? I think that's what it's called.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, caller. The Constitutional Commission, as we've been pointing out, has a root in the Constitution itself, and the Constitution itself provides for 3 members. So there aren't actually very many of us, and a number of the other commissions have a greater number of members. I was originally appointed as a member, and David Rich was the previous chairman. Sure. When David Rich retired, I was asked to take over. More recently, in the last year or so, I've been joined by Dr. Christopher Williams from UCCI, who is a published author and an academic and historian. So he has been assisting with the work of the Commission. And one of the other projects that I will be flagging today is a children's comic book on the Constitution and the text of the Constitution, and he's been working on that as an educator, providing some question and answer questions or content for that comic book. And we're also joined by Sophia Harris, who is, as you all know, a local lawyer and very experienced local lawyer.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, just to pick up on that. Mr. Carter, as the chairman, are you allowed to nominate people in that sort of stead? Because when you look around that studio right now, you have luminaries like Dr. McPhail and Mr. O.C. If they don't know about the Cayman Constitution and the history, and there's countless others like Roy Borden, Mary Lawrence, Gilbert McLean, and the list goes on and on, I think it's imperative that for us to capture the essence of what and how we got to this point, that we utilize the expertise and the experience of individuals like that. And with the greatest of respect to your current board members, I don't think they can carry Mr. McPhail's water. And the man's a walking encyclopedia of constitutional matters. Mr. O.C. knows this stuff like if he closes his eyes and so on and so forth. So I'm just saying this project is very, very useful, but it would be good if we were to utilize the expertise of individuals who are so well versed in this and able to share the vast amounts of knowledge that they have. I don't know how the board is appointed. I know that you're an academic and I know your reputation precedes you, but I just think an opportunity will be missed if we don't find a way to formally acknowledge and to absorb as much of the information that those two gentlemen in particular have available in their heads, but also there's countless others that could do it. And I think Cayman will be best served by that. I want to thank you for this project that you guys are undertaking, but perhaps also to cast a wider net, if you were to incorporate individuals like Mr. O.C. and Dr. McPhail and some of the others that I've named, that would give the work even greater depth and traction, because the one thing in Cayman, we don't capture history from those that know it and live it and have seen it. Even if we were to just spend hours videotaping Dr. McPhail and Mr. O.C. and all of the others, that could be something that is shared and you put it up on YouTube and people get to see and understand from local experts what this thing is all about. So it's just a suggestion, and it's no slight on the current commission. It's just that we don't know how much longer we're all going to be here, but whilst we're here, we gotta maximize all of the opportunities that we have to capture the essence of what makes us Cayman, the history of Cayman, and where we want to go as Caymanian people.
Caller, before you go, but you don't think that Dr. McPhail and I and others can do that without necessarily being a part of the Constitutional Commission? I mean, what we're doing here and what we try to do on For the Record, Dr. McPhail and I, is to continue to educate and to pass that on. So, to a certain extent, we can be co-opted by the commission to convey messages and to impart information without necessarily being a part of the commission.
Mr. O.C., you're absolutely right, and I thank you for all of the efforts and everything that you guys do as lay persons and in your free time. Mm-hmm. I would go as far as to say, if the Cayman Islands government has money to spend on some of the foolishness it spends, we can give you guys a stipend and say, hey, here's a 6-month project. Please dedicate your time and resources to this, and you'll be compensated for it, because you have to respect people's time and their talents. And all I'm saying is, let's get the best of the best whilst they're alive, instead of if something bad happens, Steve McPhail had known that, Mr. O.C. had known that, He used to talk about that. So that's all I'm saying, Jen.
Okay, thank you very much. Much appreciated. I'll give you an opportunity to respond also, Mr. Carter, but we'll try to take the other caller before we go to our headline news at 9 o'clock. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C. Good morning, Dr. Steve, and good morning, Vaughn.
Good morning.
Yes, I just want to chime in on a couple of things.
Sure.
Well, first of all, it's very good to see that again the Constitutional Commission has got visibility during this time, which is more like a little season for themselves, and they are trying to make sure that they continue building the recorded history of the Cayman Islands in this regard. Now, the 2 points I wanted to make. The first one is a general one. The second is a more specific one. The Constitution has been amended, like, I think up to this point in two sets, if I'm not mistaken, 2012 and 2016. And the first thing I have to say about that is, to me, it causes a little bit of a concern when you pass a constitution and then you amend it too soon after that, because then it tends to undermine its sanctity. And as a legislative council, I'll tell you very often when that happens is because there was not enough thinking that went into the first, the enactment of the Constitution, although that's hard to imagine when you consider it went even to a referendum. Secondly, there is the issue of consultation. I just don't find that there's enough consultation. I believe, in fact, on one of those two sets of amendments, even the Constitutional Commission wasn't consulted, although Vaughan can confirm that. So those are the two concerns. I think there's need to ensure that there's not too many amendments and that there is sufficient consultation with the people. And a more specific one, there was an amendment relating to the Judicial Complaints Commission, which I've mentioned before to you. I don't want to go, some people know I've sued a judge, Mr. Ian Kawali, but I don't want to go into the details. I want to talk about the constitutional issues that made it necessary for me to do that, because those are issues we can address. In the 2009 Constitution, there were very good provisions in there saying that if you want to complain against a judge, like on a behavioral issue, you go to the Judicial and Legal Services Commission, which was structurally a different body, and that was very good. And I believe there were about 9 complaints which were filed. We don't know what happened about regarding them. But unfortunately, in 2012, I think it was, they amended it to say, well, you now don't complain against a judge by going to the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. You complain against a Grand Court judge to the Chief Justice, against a Court of Appeal judge to the President of the Court of Appeal. The truth of the matter is that since then, the whole system has died. There are no structural investigations. I have used all of them, and basically you are given about half a page saying there's nothing here. And I think we need to go back to that older system and improve upon it. In all Commonwealth countries that I've researched, complaints against judges are not dealt with by the judiciary itself. They are dealt with by a different body. In Ontario, for example, you've got the Judicial Council, which takes complaints. Once it takes the complaint, it will try to resolve it amicably, privately, quietly, because you don't want things to become public if there is not much that really is being complained about. Okay? And then once it crosses a certain threshold, okay, then you make it public and let people know about it. Recently in Ontario, a judge was being...
Billy, you have about a minute left before we go to our news.
Okay, I'll just conclude, yeah. So we need to work on that to ensure that judges are held accountable, and after they are held accountable, if you cross a certain threshold, there must be a public inquiry, which is the same issue, I think, which you raised AOC about the attorney at law. Why isn't the name made public? I don't want to rail against another attorney, but once it reaches this point, I think the public needs to know.
Thank you very much for that, Billy. Folks, top of the hour headline news. When we return, we still have another caller on hold, Ms. Susan. We still have one more caller. We're going to take that caller, and then we're going to get back to our agenda. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Bracken, Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Elsa has been upgraded to a hurricane. If the current projections hold, the National Weather Service says Tropical Storm Elsa is expected to be within the area within the next 60 hours. On the path, tropical storm force winds are not likely to affect the sister islands. However, fresh to strong winds are still likely, with slightly lower wind speeds over Grand Cayman. Heavy showers leading to flooding across the islands are expected, with a higher concentration over the sister islands. The National Weather Service warns that very rough seas could warn warrant the issuing of a marine warning from Sunday afternoon. Residents are urged to monitor the progress of the storm and continue to make preparations. Make sure to keep it locked right here to Radio Cayman for the latest. As of 8 a.m. this morning, the storm was located at latitude 13.1 degrees north, 60.0 degrees west. It's about 40 miles west of Barbados. It's moving west-northwest at 28 miles per hour with max winds of 75. With your latest headlines, I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're going to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead. We're hearing you.
Sorry. Okay, good morning. I want to say something, and I know I might be accused of being petty, but be that as it may, good morning to you, Mr. Carter. I would like to say that, you know, how things get lost in the translation in Cayman, and for all those people who may come forward with their nostalgia and their memorabilia, it would be good if those things that we view in the next 50 years would be given some credit to the families. In other words, some system of saying it came from the Ebanks family or from the Morgans family or the Tatum's family, and to give those people credit for, I think that would go a long way in helping us to come forward with whatsoever it is that we may have, as it may honor grandma and grandpa, so on and so forth. And again, I'm sorry for being so petty. And again, good morning, Mr. Carter.
And good morning, ma'am. And let me say that really isn't petty at all. That is absolutely important and an excellent point. Yes. And I think that's exactly the approach that should be taken. That, you know, if people do have a document, it can be recorded as being provided, because you'll keep your document being provided by a particular person or a particular family, particularly where it then refers to or shows a family member, because that then is the historical link, and the narrative can be built around that as well. So it's an excellent idea, and actually the fact that we have announced the call for Constitutional Day at the present time, but we're not actually going to start really pushing this until the new year. That the fact that you've come up with this excellent idea is perfect, because it allows us time to build that into it. So if callers or persons that are listeners have other ideas as to how we can do this, how we can do it best, and OC was saying about, you know, emphasising that documents will be returned, and you've made the excellent point about credits for the document. If anybody else has any other ideas as to how we can make this process work, because that's what we're all trying to achieve, then they can email the Constitutional Commission at info@constitutionalcommission.ky or call, the numbers are on the website. So thank you very much.
Yes. Okay. Let's see what the next caller has to say. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, OC. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you doing, my friend?
All right. And good morning to Dr. Maxfield and Mr. One.
Good morning, sir.
Yes. I have a question for Mr. One. How can the people of the Cayman Islands adhere to the Constitution and do what it says when the main enforcers, namely the police, that supposed to enforce or make sure that the Constitution is adhered to, they break the law in that, and there's nobody to really correct what they done? I mean, I just don't understand it. Why are you spending all of this time on the radio trying to explain what the Constitution is all about to the Caymanian people, knowing that we have a holiday coming up, and yet everybody in the government ignore the fact when the police breaks the laws of this country and do compensate people for their property. I would gladly appreciate if you could answer or put some teeth to this situation that I personally went through with the police for 13 years, and nobody seemed to recognize nothing that or the wrongs that the police did to a constituent that helped them by providing the parking and everything, and nobody seems to like that. Like the Constitution don't mean anything to anybody, because the police can break it and do whatever they want with it. It don't mean anything to me. So if you have a document that we have to live by, that Mr. Backfield always referred to, it's a living document. Why is not adhered to by the main enforcers of the law? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Mr. Carter?
So, insofar as the Constitution is concerned, we've talked already about the structure of our government, and one of the principles that underpins that is a system of controls or checks and balances. And Mr. O.C. referred to the institutions supporting democracy, and they all provide some kind of check or control on the operation of government. And we look at that list in the Constitution, there's actually quite a lot of institutions. So the 2009 Constitution sought to introduce a number of checks and controls. One of those that Mr. O.C. referred to was the Complaints Commissioner, and one of the functions of the Ombudsman's Office, which equates with the Complaints Commissioner, is to receive complaints from members of the public in relation to the police force. So there is a mechanism that's rooted in our Constitution and a process by which those complaints can be submitted and can be investigated.
And in addition to that, we have our Bill of Rights, as well, in that government overall can be challenged because government has certain obligations to adhere to in regards to its citizens.
Indeed, and one of the significant innovations in the 2009 Constitution was the inclusion of a Bill of Rights, freedoms and responsibilities for the first time in the Constitution. And it's something that had been much debated for a long period of time. And earlier I referred to constitutional commissions of the past. And if you look at those reports historically, the inclusion of a Bill of Rights was the thing that the people of the Cayman Islands most wanted, as recorded in each of those commissions' reports.
Yes. Okay. We're going to take another call and then we'll go to the break and get back to our document. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C. How are you today?
Well, good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, and good morning to the doctor and to your guest there. I just want to touch on basically what he mentioned concerning a conversation with someone who thought that our holiday was linked to the U.S. holiday. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, I can remember we had, I don't know if it was NCO or in conjunction with the government, but they staged a event called Family Fair Day on this holiday. It was held between the courthouse and the Scotiabank. I can remember the first one being held when Stereo City was in the northwest corner of the Scotiabank. And it was a huge event. And I thought if we had continued that, people coming along would get more into what the Constitution or the holiday was about, because the section, you could stage like huge pictures. You could have an educational section within the festival that people could tour and get educated about the holiday, not just a day to come out, but because it was a family thing, even the youngsters could grow with that, and become aware of how the U.S. were there around 4th of July. And that just faded away. And now I think Mr. Dave Martin staged one where he had huge photos of Cayman back in the day stage on the dock, and the whole Seafarers Way was blocked off, and we had a large celebration out there. Had some fireworks at the end of the night, so it was a huge event. And now, the only time that I've heard about Constitution again is when the DART group commissioned me every 5th of July to stage a fireworks show where thousands and thousands of people are there. But I think they're just there for the festivities, and there's nothing that.
And that's celebrating our Constitution or U.S. independence.
No, they stage it on the 5th of July.
Okay.
On the 5th. But what I'm saying, it's lots of people, but there's nothing there educational, that would say, it's not just to come and eat and drink. You would have a section, if we was to stage it, say like in the middle of town, like how we used to do before. And we could have a section there, and we could have people like Mr. McPhail and the gentleman you got there, people on hand, that could also enlighten even the tourists that comes along that would think that it's just a celebration of to eat and drink, something like that. I think we need to get back. That could probably come on there, my good friend Mr. Alfonso.
Yes, celebrate Cayman.
Yes, celebrate Cayman. That's celebrating Cayman to the highest.
Yes,
to the highest degree.
Yeah.
That comes first. So that and the seaman, I think it would be the two highest things that we could celebrate.
Because without that constitutional footing, the seaman would not have had that opportunity to do what they did. We ended up with a different constitution, which may have meant that not only Caymanians, but others would have had those opportunities to go to sea and to be able to travel without having to have a visa, but using the waiver instead. So,
That's right.
The accolades could be educated too about the reason why they can come here and enjoy what they enjoy because of that same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
Well, thank you very much for that. I'm going to take the liberty, Mr. Carter, just to the caller before that in relation to property, and to point out that Article 15 in our Bill of Rights that relates to property, and it says government shall not interfere in the peaceful enjoyment of any person's property, and shall not compulsory take possession of any person's property, or compulsory acquire an interest in or right over any person's property of any description except in accordance with law. And it goes on to talk about other things. But what we have to remember also that the Constitution does not operate in a vacuum. And you have to have someone be able to articulate that for you, be able to challenge that as well. Take it up in the right in the right forum. Now, some people may argue it takes money to be able to do that, but it is there, and I'm sure that whether or not legal aid kicks in a situation like this or not is something else. But you have that constitutional right to challenge what the government has done, but you have to challenge it not in a court of public opinion, but in a court of law. Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Carter?
I think you're right to point out that above and beyond the Constitution itself, it then requires one to go and look at the other laws. So in the context of the right not to be deprived of one's property, then you're going to have to look at the laws that allow government to compulsorily purchase and to compensate accordingly and appropriately under that, and understand
if they're using it without authorization.
If it has a legal basis, first of all, which it must have, and then if that basis is being administered and executed properly. And it's the same when we look at balancing other rights in the Bill of Rights, such as freedom of expression. We're all talking freely here. Government has the right to limit freedom of expression in certain circumstances, but it must be stated in a law, and it must be proportionate. So it can't be, government can't use a sledgehammer to crack a nut or a particular small problem with excessive force. There must be a proportionate response and a need and a legal basis.
Okay. Ms. Susan, we're going to take, you want to take the break? Because what I wanted to do is to take the caller, take the break after, and close the phone lines off, because we still want Mr. Carter to be able to, finish with his agenda. And I'll just say to people simply, we need to look at, we have 3 days for the record, Mondays for government, 1 day for the opposition. We may have another day that is free, and we may want to look and push the government to see whether or not we can have a show, Know Your Constitution, and we can have Mr. Carter on every Wednesday or every Friday or every other Wednesday or every other Friday. Isn't that's a good idea, right, Doc? We're going to look at that. So Ms. Susan says we'll take the break. We're going to take the caller after. Then we're going to, unfortunately, close the phone lines off for a while because we have an agenda that we need to get through as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Did you know that defective airbags can cause serious injury or even death if not repaired immediately? Right now, millions of vehicles around the world are under recall for faulty Takata airbags, and yours could be one of them. At Vant Motors, our priority is to make sure the Toyota or Ford you drive is safe. So we are offering customers a free, fast, and easy airbag swap out if your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or earlier. Find out if you need to have new airbags installed by emailing your Ford or Toyota vehicle's VIN or vehicle identification number to service@vantmotors.com, or stop by Vamp's Service Center or call us at 949-2245. Don't risk it. Get the airbags in your Toyota or Ford checked for free at Vant Motors on Walkers Road.
When I was growing up in Cayman, Sundays was always a big day for our family. Everyone would go to Granny's house for Sunday dinner after church. Even today, I can still smell the aroma of all the delicious food we used to eat, especially the hot, fresh baked bread smothered in butter, topped off with our favorite pan cheese. These days, I don't have enough time to cook and bake, but I do my best to carry on the Sunday tradition of family meals, and being able to get hot, fresh bread with no preservatives or additives from Caribbean Bakery is a big help for me. Shh, don't tell them, they still think I baked it. Caribbean Bakery, now delivering every Sunday to McGrath's grocery store in Eastern Avenue and Marina Drive. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh.
The 2021 census begins on the 10th of October. Every person in the Cayman Islands will be counted. The population count and data are protected and authorized by the Statistics Act. The information is confidential and cannot be shared with any law enforcement agency. Every person counts, no matter who you are or where you live. So have your say in the 2021 census.
2021 census. Everyone counts.
Attention all tourism stipend recipients. Have you completed the mandatory stipend survey? This survey is required for all recipients and must be completed by this Friday, 2nd July 2021. Visit stipend.ourcayman.ky today to complete the short survey. Remember, it is mandatory, so visit stipend.ourcayman.ky today. Any questions? Email the tourism stipend team at stipend@caymanislands.ky.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome to Know Your Constitution. No, I'm sorry. Welcome to For the Record. We do have a caller on hold. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Caller, go ahead.
I've been listening to the conversation so far, and I find it extremely valuable to my mind.
Thank you, sir.
Something which has not been promulgated, I dare say, to the extent that it could be, but by what I have been hearing, there's moves afoot to make that happen.
one of the things in particular that I think is so very important is to have it taught in schools and colleges, as Mr. Carter was saying, and that efforts are being made to do it in a way that it can be readily available to everyone. And, of course, with children, a storybook form could well be the best way of doing it, because it's more attractive to children in a presentation with illustrations and everything else. The other thing that came up, and I know Dr. McPhail has been talking about this now for a few years, is the question of the district council. And as Mr. Carter has said, the Constitution says there shall be. Now, unless shall has changed its meaning, shall mean shall. And I'm wondering, and there are two lawyers there, they don't have to answer me immediately, but they can do so after. I'm wondering if a failure to do that or to bring about district councils, shouldn't it be possible to sue someone, whether that be the cabinet or past governments or the present one or whatever, that hasn't done so? Of course, I am one who believes that the persons on those councils should be elected, because I fail to see how people who are elected, who have the duty to carry out the shall in the Constitution, if the people who are good enough to elect them, are they good enough to be able to elect some other people who are closer to the grassroots and who can pass on information and advise them? I really can't see the reason for not doing so. And one other point that was raised by Mr. Carter that I really thought was very important, and we should think carefully about, is that why not go back to the old way in the districts, where everyone could vote for the 6, 7, or whatever people that would make up the council, rather than allowing it to happen within the 17 pieces which are presently the government is made up of now. I was one person who supported that, the one man, one vote. I still do, but to me, it has proven to be somewhat of a disaster, this single-member constituency, and to add to that, where the elected members would elect who they want on the council, would only add to that disaster. You know, I still believe that we could have voted one man, one vote, keeping it, if there's 4 in a district, you vote for the one who you think is most deserving, and the 4 that came out on top would be the 4 that would have been the representatives. But those are just my thoughts, and I thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time and the effort to educate, which you are really doing, and I hope it just is a continuing process, because it's so very lacking. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Carter, over to you to answer all of the to the comments that have been made, and we will continue with the agenda, because we're going to close the phone lines off now, Ms. Susan, as well.
Well, there's a number of callers and a number of questions there, and I'm not entirely sure where to start. Maybe if I cast my mind back to the first caller, and I think he and I are singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yes.
And the caller pointed out all of the eminent persons, historians, constitutional experts, and there are many. And we do need to engage them, and we do need to hear from them. And we do need to take snippets from this show, if we possibly can, and have them edited so that they can be put in this bank of materials, and that they can be indexed and accessed. Mm-hmm. So those voices and those stories, as well as those documents, are absolutely what we need, and are what we are looking for, and what we currently don't have, what we're deficient in this regard. As to how the Commission is appointed. Unfortunately, that's above my pay grade. The commission is appointed by the governor on the advice of the premier and the leader of the opposition. Which probably links into something that I think the second caller was mentioning, which was how the Constitution is changed or amended. And he was correct to say that the Constitution has been amended twice. The first time it was amended was in relation to the role of the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. And more recently, there have been a series of amendments which provide greater autonomy for the local administration versus the powers of the governor. When we received the 2009 Constitution, we received it with a letter of entrustment which referred to or responded to a request from the then government that any changes be by way of referendum, and the UK government indicated that why it would be supportive of the general proposition that there needed to be significant consultation. It couldn't commit to requiring a referendum on each and every occasion. There may be circumstances where they may not be relevant or necessary, or there may be minor changes that could be derailed by waiting for a referendum, and a referendum could be expensive. And I'm not going to get into the debates surrounding that. There are arguments for always having a referendum, and some people will say that there are arguments for having some discretion around that. But what the letter of entrustment then went on to say was that the Constitution could be amended in minor instances where there was consensus between the Premier and the leader of the opposition. Then we get into a debate and a discussion about what is minor. Yes. And that's not entirely clear because it's not even in the Constitution itself. It's something that was in the letter of entrustment that came with the Constitution. So one of the things that the Commission has been long saying, and when it was asked for input on the recent changes before they went off to be debated with the UK, which was an excellent initiative and an innovation, and the first time the Commission had been consulted in that way, one of the things that the Commission did say was we need some greater clarity around how the Constitution is to be amended. That hasn't happened in the amendment, and we saw the process that happened with the last draft amendment or order in council, and it's understandable as to how that happened, because you go to these negotiations, and as you would know, OC, you want to get consensus on the Cayman position, because you're going over there to negotiate with the UK. The last thing that you want is for them to be able to divide and conquer us,
or even sense that there's a division.
So the important thing is to try and get an agreed position, have the negotiations, and then come back with the position that's been agreed. Well, then when you come back and the UK publish a draft order in council, particularly when you're up against an election in the UK, it's then very difficult to have engagement around that and then go back and say, well, we want it changed. It really became a take it or leave it. And ultimately, I think most people agreed, and everybody agreed, it was better to take it than leave ourselves vulnerable to the use of certain powers that were previously under or in the old Constitution. So that's how it was. That's how the last amendment came about. But yes, we would benefit from having some clarity around that, which is one of the explanatory notes that are in the 2021 update published for Constitution Day by the Constitutional Commission. The whole process around, or some explanation as to how the Constitution has been changed since 2009 and what some of the challenges are there and the difficulties are there with that process. So the Constitutional Commission can educate, it can advise, as was the case when the Premier and then Leader of the Opposition came to the Commission and asked for suggestions. but it can inform. That's why there's a series of explanatory notes that have been published throughout the year. We published an explanatory note after the election when people were anxious about that process. All of those explanatory notes are on our website, and the update takes excerpts from them. So there's people, they can go to the update or they see the update and they can get a taster, and then they know that they can go to the website and find that full explanatory note. So hopefully the Constitutional Day and the update that we're publishing will drive traffic to the website.
Excellent, excellent. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, one of the questions that I would like you to answer for us, Mr. Carter, talking about the size of the commission, the membership size, and based on what you're doing and what you want to do, whether or not the membership or the staffing of the commission needs to be enhanced in any way. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Summer Farmer Camp. It's time to get your kids back in touch with nature, not their tablet. The Cayman Islands Agriculture Society will be hosting a summer farming camp for children ages 5 to 12, from tending the crops to working with goats, chickens, rabbits, cattle, and horses. Get those fingers off the screen and let them get a little dirty. July 26th to August 6th at the Agriculture Grounds in Lower Valley. Only $135 per week, including breakfast, snack, lunch, and field trips to area farms. Email 345agriculture@gmail.com. or call 917-2008. We are in the hurricane season, and knowing what to do after a hurricane can be as important as preparing for the storm. After the passage of a hurricane, seek medical attention if it is needed at hospitals and clinics for those persons who are injured. Do not touch power lines and cables that are down. They may be active. Report them to 911 or the utilities emergency hotlines. Broken tree limbs should be removed from around homes or buildings if possible. This hurricane information has been brought to you by Breeze FM and Radio Cayman.
New stock has just arrived at Super Stitch. Now don't take my word for it, drop by and see for yourself. Fresh off the boat, we have loads of fabric, vinyl upholstery fabric, fabric for cushions, outdoor fabrics, and dress fabric. That's not all. Super Stitch has sewing accessories and craft items. Included in the new shipment, you will find sheets, comforters, throw pillows, bath mats, rugs, and curtains for every room in your home. Super Stitch, 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best price in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Dr. Steve McPhail and Mr. Vaughn Carter, the chairman of the Constitutional Commission. Before we went to the break, I posed the question to Mr. Carter. Based on the Section 118 of our Constitution, it sets out the composition of the commission. That is a chairperson and 2 other members appointed by the governor after consultation with the premier and the leader of the opposition, at least one of whom shall be an experienced lawyer. And when you look at the functions of the commission, and Mr. Carter has mentioned all of these before, advise the government on questions concerning constitutional status and development in the Cayman Islands. 2, to publish reports, discussion papers, information papers, and other documents on constitutional matters affecting the Cayman Islands. 3, to promote understanding and awareness of this constitution and its values, and to exercise all such other functions as may be prescribed in a law enacted by the legislature. So not only is the work of the Constitutional Commission important, it is wide-reaching as well. People with skills are needed. You're making the call, and you will be making a call for people who have documents that they can share with the Commission. A lot of research is also involved. We have our local archives here. I've always heard Mr. Alfonso Wright talk about the fact that when he went over to the archives in Jamaica, that he found so much stuff, and I'm sure in the UK as well, in Scotland and places like that. Also information. So those persons who like to do research, like to delve into things, find things, and they get real excited when they find it and say, oh, I never knew this was here before. Those are some of the skills that you have, but you have a limited staff. And because this work is so important, do you need more resources?
Well, I think you're right to say that we are a small commission in that we only have 3 members. But we are, of course, supported by the Commission Secretariat, and they provide excellent support. One of the examples that I was relaying to you in the break concerned the actual amendments, the Orders in Council amending the 72 Constitution. And it was actually Debbie Bodden, who is at the Commission Secretariat and has headed it since its inception, that dug around and went to law firms in their libraries and managed to find all those constitutional documents. So we're supported by the Secretariat, and there are excellent analysts there as well. And in addition, they now have a bespoke communications person as well, who's helped with the magazine style to the update, has helped with the children's comic book that we're producing, and the digitization of the historical timeline that's also now on our website. So we do have the support, and you're quite right to say that other people, if they're keen to volunteer and help out with projects, that would be excellent too. And we repeatedly at the end of all of our press releases say, if you have anything to add, anything to engage with, if you would like to engage with us, please contact us, and that call goes out again. We're happy to hear from people. And one of the things that when we did the audio and the Braille Constitution, that we got people to come in and record different sections of the Constitution for the audio Constitution, and that engagement, they absolutely appreciated that, and they became advocates for the Constitution because they've been part of it. So the call for resources is part of that. So if somebody has something to donate and or some resource to provide that we can take a copy of, they become part of it as well. So yes, it is all about engaging as many people as possible. When you talk about the skill set of the members, the skill set needs to reflect the 3 main objectives or functions, which is to educate, inform, and advise. That's heavily weighted to education and information and the development of resources. And insofar as advice is concerned, yes, we offer those explanatory notes that sometimes morph into advice, but the only time we've actually been officially asked for advice was prior to the most recent amendment to the Constitution. So we do need people with an education background, and we do need people with communications skills as well to educate and inform. What appeared to be the case when appointments have been made recently is that there is a sense when the governor consulted with the people that he needed to consult with in order to make appointments, that it would be desirable to have more than one lawyer on that on this commission, and I understand that that's why we now have another lawyer on the commission as well. So there's a balance between education, communication, and legal skills as well. So I think those are the factors that have gone into the appointments that have been made over the years.
Okay. Doc, I know you're fascinated with the comic book.
Yes. I think the comic book is a great idea. I never thought about education in the form of a comic book. It's a good idea, Mr. Carter, and whoever came up with that, it's a great, great idea, and I think it's going to grab a lot of people in the schools, and even me. It's because I looked at it last night and I was so fascinated with it, and the multiple choice questions that you are posing. It's going to be good, and if you could have, I don't know how much of the constitutional provisions you can get into it, but it's going to be very good if you could get all of the Constitution into it on the form of questions and answers. You said pop quiz for children, and it's very good, and I hope that you get it published as quickly as you can.
Thank you, Dr. Steve. That's a great endorsement coming from you. And yes, it's an excellent initiative. We developed the text previously, but we were looking for the mechanism by which to best deliver it. And the comic book was decided upon, and the Commission Secretariat have supported us in producing this. We should have hard copies soon, which we're going to provide to all of the schools. But in addition to that, we're going to provide it in ebook format on our website. So I'm envisaging, teachers in schools being able to put that up on the smart board to see the comic book, and then to be able to flip the pages on the smart board and to use the pop quiz to engage with the students on. What we recognise is we've got to provide informative and educational materials for different constituents. Yes. So our explanatory notes and some of the more academic historical pieces, they're going to be accessed by adults generally. But we need to catch people as young as possible. Yes. So the comic book, we want to aim at probably Key Stage 3, end of primary school, start of secondary school. And then in addition, we've taken the old historical timeline that the Constitutional Modernisation Initiative folks developed prior to 2009, and we've produced that as a more magazine style, and that is also on the website as a digital resource. And I know, OC, you looked at it last night and you were clicking on it, and it was going through to the next section. It just adds a bit of interest. And if you, obviously we're on radio now and people can't visualise it, but if you are in a classroom and you're a 10, 11, 12-year-old and the teacher's got that resource up on the screen, it's far more engaging than a piece of black and white piece of paper.
It is. Okay, we're going to take our last commercial break. And when we return, there's I think you want to talk about significant constitutional issues that are still left unaddressed as well. We'd like you to touch on those issues, Mr. Carter. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
When I was growing up in Cayman, Sundays was always a big day for our family. Everyone would go to Granny's house for Sunday dinner after church. Even today, I can still smell the aroma of all the delicious food we used to eat, especially the hot, fresh baked bread smothered in butter, topped off with our favorite pan cheese. These days, I don't have enough time to cook and bake, but I do my best to carry on the Sunday tradition of family meals. And being able to get hot, fresh bread with no preservatives or additives from Caribbean Bakery is a big help for me. Shh, don't tell them, they still think I baked it. Caribbean Bakery, now delivering every Sunday to my Grass Grocery Store in Eastern Avenue and Marina Drive. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh.
Health City is now open at Camana Bay, offering a wide range of specialties at our state-of-the-art Camana Bay Clinic. We are here to help you save time and feel better. We are open weekdays, weekends, and evenings for your convenience and are dedicated to reducing your wait time while improving your health. Friendly staff, expert care, lab services, and diagnostics in one convenient location from the hospital you know and trust. Health City at Camana Bay, within your reach.
The West Bay Family Fair has something for everyone. Monday, July 5th, enjoy wholesome family fun with free admission to the inaugural West Bay Family Fair at the Ed Bush Stadium and West Bay Heritage Park. Bring your family and friends and learn how to make silver touch rope, blow a concord, or spin a gig. Local arts and crafts will be on sale, and vendors will offer up the best in traditional foods and treats for the kids. Kids of all ages will have their faces painted and participate in several sporting events with McGee's Adventure Park. But wait, there's more. Don't miss the early morning cycle race, the farmers market, live entertainment, awesome raffle prizes, and find out who will win the beautiful baby contest. Stay for the 2-mile fun run and walk and football tournament showcasing some of West Bay's legends. For more information, email noelw@candw.ky or call 916-2134. West Bay Family Fair, Monday, July 5th, Ed Bush Stadium, starting at 7 a.m. This advert is brought to you by Williams Productions and Radio Cayman.
In case you're tracking Hurricane Elsa, the latest coordinates: latitude 13.1 north, longitude 60.1 west, location 40 miles west of Barbados, moving west-northwest at 28 miles per hour. Maximum sustained winds are 75 miles per hour. If current projections hold, Tropical Storm Elsa is expected to be within our area in the next 60 hours. On this path, tropical storm force winds are not likely to affect the sister islands. However, fresh to strong winds are still likely with slightly lower wind speed over Grand Cayman. Heavy showers leading to flooding across the islands are expected with a higher concentration over the sister islands of Caymanbrac and Little Cayman. Very rough seas will warrant the issuing of a marine warning from Sunday afternoon. Residents have been urged to monitor the progress of the storm and to continue to make preparations. The Cayman Islands National Weather Service will continue to monitor the system.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McFeel, and the Chairman of the Cayman Islands Constitutional Commission, Mr. Vaughn Carter. I just want to say to our listening audience that we apologize for the fact that we haven't given you sufficient time that we would like for you to call in and converse with us. But I make a promise to you that I'm going to be fighting, and we're going to look to have a slot somewhere on For the Record that deals exclusively with our constitution and constitutional issues in the Cayman Islands. We're going to seriously work on that. Over to you, Mr. Carter.
I think, OC, that you, before the break, you were indicating that perhaps we could spend the last few minutes talking about maybe outstanding matters in relation to the Constitution that haven't been addressed by the most recent amendment.
Yes.
And in our update that we published for Constitution Day, we have an explanatory note that deals precisely with that. It covers, I think, 3 areas. The first of those areas relates to the records of the recent talks and the correspondence that led to the most recent amendment.
Yes.
And we have requested that those records be made available to the public. So we consider that one of the outstanding matters is the actual record of what occurred. For all of the reasons that we've discussed, those are important historical documents that ought to be made available to the general public so that they can see and understand exactly what went on. We're also hoping that we can derive from those records whether or not or what matters were debated. We know from the actual amendment itself some of the topics that were considered, but were there other topics that were considered that cropped up in the course of that? I think everyone appreciates that sometimes that's a fluid process, and new things come in, and it's an opportunity to deal with them, and they weren't necessarily on the agenda to begin with, and they come in. But we want to understand and learn and appreciate that, and we would probably derive from that whether or not there are one or two other things that nearly made it over the line, but didn't. And
you would learn then how to approach it the next time around.
Indeed.
But if those individuals who were involved in those negotiations then are not involved in others, then you've lost that opportunity.
Exactly. So we think those records are very important, and we consider that to be an outstanding matter that we want to follow up on, and we're interested to find out about.
Yes.
The second of the outstanding matters, I think, that people have approached the Constitutional Commission about afterwards. So we had the amendment, and people have approached the Commission and said, well, what about this, or what about that? I think there are two of those. The first of those is the issue of amending the Constitution. I think we've talked about that already. There isn't a formal process for amending the Constitution in the Constitution. It's something that people often raise. It's connected with the issue of referendum. It was one of the issues that the Commission did say that it would be useful to look and understand and clarify this. It's one of the things that we're keen, therefore, to see the records and the debate to see whether it was raised and how it was addressed and how it was considered. So people come and ask, well, what happened to that? And what we've done is, whilst we can't answer that directly, the explanatory note takes the reader through the process as it's understood and what has happened with amendments and how they have been processed, and identifies what the questions and issues might be surrounding that. And then the other issue that people often approached the Commission about after the last amendments is, well, what happened with Section 81 of the Constitution? And that relates to the Governor's reserve legislative powers, and it's tied up in the question of the use of those following the Day and Bodden Bush litigation, and following the fact that the Governor determined that it was necessary to use those powers. The UK government's response was, well, given that we had to use them, it wouldn't be necessarily the right time to remove them from the Constitution. So although their removal was in the first draft order in council, ultimately when the final order in council came, Section 81 was retained. So the note that we've provided, it's in the constitutional update, but the note is also on the website, explains that process, but also puts some context around, well, is this, how significant is the fact that they're now retained? And it talks about other provisions in the Constitution that protect Cayman, but it also notes that there are other provisions in the Constitution which allow the UK to do certain things in any event. So even if Section 81 had gone, there remains the so-called nuclear option of an order in council in any event. So it's not a binary issue. It's not cut and dried. And part of the reason for these explanatory notes is that people can start to see that it's actually quite nuanced, and that there are a number of aspects to this. And hopefully they're presented in a way in which they're accessible and easy to understand. And hopefully by coming on your show, I'm able to give a little bit of further explanation, and bit by bit people will appreciate them a little bit more, and will have perhaps a more nuanced view on it.
Certainly. Okay. I want to give you an opportunity. We still have about 5 minutes left. Anything else that you want to cover in relation to?
Well, I think that we've covered the update and we've covered topical issues. I'm here. I can happily answer any questions that you may have, or Dr. Steve may have.
Doc, do you have any question for Mr. Carter?
No, I would just like to thank Mr. Carter for all the things that he has said this morning, and his fluidity, and to explain the Constitution so ably to our listeners. I would just like to get him back again so that we probably can discuss what happens after an election. I know that's very important to you. I think you have some material on it.
Indeed.
Yes.
So
and,
in the update as
yes.
well, we refer to the explanatory note that the Constitutional Commission published immediately after the last election. And I think that there was a sense that people were feeling a little bit anxious about what the Constitution provided and what was going to happen. And at that point in time, clearly the Commission did not want to weigh in to each and every issue, because there were political considerations and political negotiations going on, and it would not have been appropriate for the Commission to have put itself in the middle of those.
Yes.
But what the Commission was able to do was somewhat more dispassionately to say, well, this is what the Constitution provides, this is what the Constitution would normally do, and this is how the governor and the political protagonists can be guided by the Constitution. But what we then went on to say was that there are questions and things that do probably need to be looked at in some greater detail. So, speaking very generally, whilst the Constitution clearly looks to political parties as the initial guider for the formation of the government, if there isn't a clear party with a winner, then what happens next? And the Constitution provides in part for that, but there is a sense where I think some greater clarity could be made around those rules so that it was clearer as to what would happen. Some people, for example, wanted a defined period for when the Parliament was brought back, so that the negotiations didn't go on forever and ever and ever, and people got a sense of when there would be some finality to it. So maybe that's something to consider. Should the speakership be part of that debate? Should it be a position of patronage that can be given? Because in a legislature that has small numbers, a move in one via that affects the numbers game significantly. So those are points for further discussion now. And somebody contacted me in relation to the Constitution Commission and says, well, now is the time. Now we've had the election. Yes. We have a new government. The government is formed. The government's getting down to business. But strike while the iron is hot.
Yes.
Let's have a look at what these issues are whilst they're fresh in people's minds. So one of the things that the Commission will be turning its mind to is precisely those issues that are flagged at the end of that explanatory note, and some of those that I've alluded to in response to Dr. Steve.
Okay, well, we've reached that time of the day or time of the morning, and Doc, I want to thank you. Mr. Carter, I want to thank you for being here as well, and to extend an open invitation. Anytime you want to be on For the Record, we will find a slot for you, a space for you, because this is extremely, extremely important issue. And, we talk about the Constitution being a living document, but we don't want our Constitution to get ahead of us. We want to be able to keep up with our Constitution as well. And your efforts in terms of informing and educating, as well as advising, those efforts have to be sustained, and whatever we can do to help in that area, be certainly more than happy to do that as well. So, folks, I want to thank you. for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. I also want to remind you that we are brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling, Dwayne Ebanks at 12:15 for Talk Today. Remember, Monday, Constitution Day. Visit the Constitutional Commission's website. Lots of valuable information on there as well. And as we always say, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh. Health City, now open at Camana Bay 7 days a week.
The Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure, and by West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is